Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadi Tamastuma Vidvishavahe Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Today we are not going back to the introduction to the Upanishads, which we did yesterday, because then there won't be any time left. So I'm going to start with where we stopped yesterday. Yesterday, we stopped at the point where Nachiketas, the young son of Vajashravasa, after having questioned his father on the inadequacy of the sacrificial gifts given to the Brahmanas, perform the sacrifice, Vajashravasa was giving away cows to the Brahmanas who had come to perform the sacrifice. The sacrifice was actually meant to give away everything so that he could attain the world from which one never comes back. But when the little boy, Nachiketas, was watching his father, he was shocked that his father was giving away cows which were lame, which were blind, which had no milk. So the little boy, filled with Shraddha, questioned his father as to why, if this is a sacrifice at all, to give away things which you don't require, not things which you have and which are valuable, but things which are useless. So Vajashravasa, and then he asked him, I am your nearest and the dearest property. Who will you give me to? And Vajashravasa said, I give you away to death. So Nachiketas, this is what we did yesterday, Nachiketas goes there to Yamaloka, and the great Lord of Death has gone somewhere else at the point, not knowing that Nachiketas is suddenly appearing there. So he sits in Yamadeva's waiting room for 3 days. Yamadeva comes back and apologizes and says, I've committed a great mistake. When a guest comes, you need to give him water, you need to give him food, you need to inquire after his well-being, and I, a young Brahmin boy with a shining face sitting here, and I have neglected you completely. So, in compensation for that, ask me for 3 boons and I will give it to you. So, Nachiketas asked the first boon, which is, when I go back, may my father receive me and recognize me. We explained all that, why the word recognize me was used. You would think that the father would certainly recognize the son. But the son is now a different person. He has seen the truth. And when you see the truth, I explained yesterday, everything changes. The very cells of the body change. It's not only spiritual. So he was worried that the father might look at him and say, who's this boy? He said, may he welcome him, may he not be angry with me. And the second boon was how to attain heaven or do work without without the consequences of the work, of the karma, falling on us. Means everybody works, but we always have an action and a reaction. Nachiketas said, teach me that way of life by which I can work in this world and yet be free of pain and sorrow and not allow anything to stick to me. Effects of the karma. Yamadeva says, granted. Not only that, the process by which this is done, he names as the Nachiketa Yajna, which is still known as the Yajna of Nachiketas. 2 boons. The third boon that he asked was, When you die, some say that you don't exist anymore. Some say that you exist in some way, somewhere, in some form. Now, what I want to know, said Nachiketas to Yamadeva, is there some way to be free of death, be immortal? Is there some being who can live without fearing death? Can I be free of this fear of death which is with everybody? Is there immortality which a human being can attain? Not physically. Physically, even if you live for many years, you will die finally. But is there a state after death? In fact, as the Upanishad goes on, it explains that it is not only after death, but while still living, to live with the realization and understanding that you are actually immortal. Death cannot touch you. Can you teach me that? Can you tell me the secret of attaining that? How do we attain that? So, in the Upanishad, we explain this. I'm going just summing up so that we can proceed. Yamadeva says, all the two boons I have given you, but this third boon, even the great gods don't know the answer, how to get there. So it's a very difficult thing, it's a secret. So instead of that, I can give you many things. I can give you the whole world. I can give you the three worlds. I can give you wealth which no one has ever seen before, from Kubera's treasure. I can give you elephants and horses and music and dancing girls. Enjoy yourself. Don't ask me this question. So as I explained yesterday, unlike most of us who would have accepted it, you want moksha or a BMW? BMW. Nachiketas was a true seeker whose only interest was to find the truth. He was not interested in the song and dance. In fact, in one verse he says to Yama, keep your song and dance to yourself. If this is so difficult, that's exactly what I want. I want to know the secret of Amritya, Amrita, immortality. Tell me this secret. So the Katha Upanishad continues with Yama trying to instruct Nachiketas how to reach or how to realize, how to understand that in us is an element which has no fear of death, which is immortal, which when the body goes doesn't go. This. And that element in us is ever blissful, so that when one understands this, one is no more searching for happiness here and there like mad. So I'm going to start from there. So the question, yogis also need glasses. So, when Yama has offered all these things to Nachiketas and says, take them, Nachiketas has refused to take anything. And then he says, Nachiketas says, Swabhavo martyasya yat anthaka etat sarvendriyam jarayanti teja api sarvam jivitam alpam eva tavaiva vahas tavat nritya gite. Nachiketas said, all the things that you are offering are transient and they wear out in no time. O Yama, the vigor of all the senses of human beings also wear out. You know how powerful the senses are when you are young? Then they wear out in time. All life is so brief, so little. So please keep your chariots, keep your dance, and keep your song for yourself. Svaiva vaha stava nritya gite. Take it with you. I don't want any of this nritya, gita, nothing. Not gita, gite. न वित्तेन तर्पणीयो मनुष्यः लप्स्यामहे वित्तम् आदृक्षमासेत्यप जीविष्यामो यावद् ईशिष्यसि त्वं वरस्तु मे वरणीयस एव. Says, man is not contented with wealth. Women also. Your expression used is man, but it means a human being. Man is not contented with wealth. Shall we enjoy wealth when we have seen death standing before us? What wealth can we enjoy when death is standing before us? Shall we live as long as you are in power, any time ready to bring death? What can we enjoy? I still choose that boon. Teach me the secret of immortality. I don't want anything else. The idea is only a student who is like Nachiketas, who is ready to give up everything except to find the truth, can find the truth. If you say, I want everything else, but also find the truth like a rose in a buttonhole, it doesn't work. I'm not saying you should change your clothes or run away from the world, not that. Intention. One pointed intention of finding the truth, no matter what comes, then one finds the truth. And this is Nachiketas, is a perfect example, who even refuses all the wealth of the world offered by King Yama, the Lord of Death. Nachiketas says, I don't want all that. Having approached the undecaying immortality, what decaying mortal on this earth who meditates on the pleasures of beauty and love, will he ever rejoice in this? Don't I see death coming every day to everybody? Why are you giving me this? It's useless to me. Give me the answer to my question. How does one reach immortality? Is there something immortal in me? That is the major question. Or am I bound to die like everybody else? So, Yama begins his answer. Yama doesn't say, yes, this is the secret, take it. The way of the Upanishads is to guide the person step by step to find it for himself. So, in Katha Upanishad also, Yama doesn't say, oh, you want the secret of immortality, this is what it is, take it. Not possible. What Yama does, he says, I will teach you how to get there. What is the way of getting there? And then he starts by saying, Anyat Shrayo Anyat Udaiva. If this is taking time, I'll just do the English part. We'll see how it goes. Anyat Shrayo Anyat Udaiva Prayaste Ubhe Nanarthe Purusham Sinitha Tayo Shraya Adadhanasya Sadhu Bhavati Hiyate Arthat Ya Uprayo Pranate. Yama said, there are two things in this world, two different things. One is good and the other is pleasant. There is the Shreyas and there is the Prayas. There are two things. All over the world, when we involve ourselves in all activities, all thoughts, we are faced with two things. One is pleasant, one way. The other way is good, but may not be pleasant. But we always seek the pleasant, right? Mostly. Yama says, different is the good and different indeed is the pleasant. These two, with different purposes, bind a man. Bind, B-I-N-D. Of these two, the seeker after truth takes hold of the good. But he who chooses only the pleasant fails in his aim of finding the truth. Yama is instructing Nachiketas how to understand that which is an immortal element in all of us. He says, there is the pleasant and there is the good. If you choose the pleasant, you will enjoy for some time, but you will not find the truth. Hold on to the good even though it is not pleasant. Sometimes it might be pleasant, but may not necessarily be pleasant. When you do that, then you are moving in the right direction. Prayascha manushyaam etasto samparitya vivinakti dhiraha chayohi dhiro abhiprayaso prinite prayo manda yoga chemad urnit. Both the good and the pleasant approach the human being. The wise person, pondering over them, discriminates and says, and chooses the good in preference to the pleasant. The simple-minded, for the sake of worldly well-being, prefer the pleasant. But Nachiketas, you have, after examining carefully the desires that are pleasant and seem to be pleasing, you have not taken to the way of wealth, where merry mortals sing to ruin. In the modern world, it is difficult to say this. Everybody is after wealth. Yama says to Nachiketas, you have rejected, after examining carefully the way of wealth which most people want, and chosen the way of wisdom. The way of wealth is where many mortals, yasyam majjanti bhavo manusha, all sink to ruin. Widely apart and leading to divergent ends are these: ignorance and wisdom. Those who are ignorant choose the way of the pleasant, and those who choose wisdom choose the way of that which is good. Now, I know, Nachiketas, that you are eager for wisdom. Even these desires which I gave you did not distract you. So I think you are ready to understand this. And then Yama makes a statement. You would have thought, especially those who do literature might have thought, that the phrase, the blind leading the blind, maybe comes with Shakespeare. The blind leading the blind is a common usage. You might think it's Shakespeare. 1,000 years ago, maybe 800 years before Shakespeare, the Katha Upanishad for the first time uses this phrase. What is that? Avidyayam antare vartamanaha swayam dhira panditam manyamanaha dandramyamanaha pariyanti mudha andheineva niyamana yatandaha. Yama says, abiding in the midst of ignorance, wise in their own esteem, thinking that they are wise, thinking themselves to be learned, fools treading a tortuous path, go about like andheineva niyamana, like the blind leading the blind. Need to stay a little bit on this. Pandityam is okay, it's good. But to think that the truth can be learned through Pandityam is a mistake. This is what the Upanishad says. If you know by heart a lot of Upanishads, or if you learn Upanishads, you might think that you know the wisdom of the Upanishads. May not be. If people who simply theoretically understand these things become guides, then the poor guy who is guided is like the blind man, and the one who is leading is also blind. So what happens when the blind leads the blind? They fall into a ditch. Right? So from this, I want to connect to another Upanishad which treats of knowledge. We think knowledge is the highest. The Upanishad says it's not knowledge but wisdom, and demarcates between wisdom and knowledge. So why is this demarcation? There is a beautiful Upanishad, very small, 20 sloka Upanishad, 20 or 21. Called the Ishavasya Upanishad. Ishavasya Upanishad is from the Yajurveda again, like the Katha Upanishad. And the Ishavasya Upanishad, among other things, makes a comment. And the comment is very interesting. I'm going to look for it. Here it is. 9th sloka of the Ishavasya Upanishad. Andham tama pravishanti yo vidhyayam upasate. Andham tama pravishanti yo avidhyayam upasate. Tatho bhuya yivate tamo yahu vidhyayam ratha. Into blinding darkness enter those who worship ignorance. That we all understand. We say, no, that we are not entering because we are not ignorant, so we are entering light. But those who are ignorant, who worship ignorance, they enter into darkness. So we are happy. We won't enter into darkness because we are. But the next sentence is like a bombshell. Tatho bhuya ivate tamo yahu vidhyayam ratha. And those who delight in knowledge enter into still greater darkness. So why is that? You can't study anything without knowledge, understood. But why is this statement made? Two things. One is not to make knowledge the most important thing. Insight and intuition are more important than knowledge gathered from textbooks and scriptures and words. They are merely words. Second, since we are doing the Upanishad, I want to examine the very concept of knowledge as described in the Ishavasya Upanishad. What does knowledge mean? What is the meaning of knowledge? I don't know about this microphone. I know, but suppose I don't know. So what happens? I want to learn about it, right? Okay. So I need to understand what a microphone is. Okay. I've understood it. Then what happens? After understanding what a microphone is, I say, now I know what is a microphone. So my knowledge of the microphone is there. Right. So what does that mean? That means after having understood the microphone, what it is, I have put it into my memory. So my mind is full of these cubby holes of memory. When I say I know about the microphone, it means at any point I can open that cubby hole and look at it and say, this is a microphone. It's very fast. We can't make out how fast it works. But this is what it means. That means all knowledge, whatever it is, scriptures, this, that, all knowledge is gathered and stored in a memory, and therefore it is a memory. Right? and the truth, which is the Brahman, Isha Vashyamidam Sarvam, that which pervades everything here and now, is a thing of the present, because there is no memory which is present, all memory is past. Is there any present memory? All memory is past. So all the knowledge that we have gathered belongs to the past. It cannot be the present, and the truth is the present. Now, here and now, idam sarvam. Therefore, while in the process of understanding, it is necessary to learn and have knowledge. Knowledge can also be a barrier to understanding the truth. The third reason, the moment I have knowledge, my ego swells up. Once my ego swells up, I definitely cannot find the truth. There is another Upanishad called one of the principal Upanishads called the Mundaka Upanishad. Mundaka Upanishad, the disciple asks the teacher, who is the Rishi, explain to me two kinds of knowledge which you say exist. Like two ways of life, the pleasant and the good. The two kinds of knowledge explained by the Rishis. Please tell me what they are. And the Rishi says to the student, yes, one is called Aparavidya, lower knowledge. The other is called Paravidya, higher understanding. So the disciple says, can you give me a list of what is lower knowledge? Aparavidya? You would be surprised. I can read it for you, but I hope you trust me. The Mundaka Upanishad. The list starts of lower knowledge like this. Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvanaveda, and so on. Jyotisha and everything. All the Vedangas. Lower knowledge. So the disciple asks, so then what is higher knowledge? Because these are the only things I have with me. He says, higher knowledge is that which leads you to the truth. Which means, not that you should not study the Vedas. It means even if you study the Vedas, if they don't lead you to the truth, they are still lower knowledge. That's what it means. Therefore, even if you don't study the Vedas, if it leads you to the truth, that's okay. But this is not okay. Because we have no other way other than knowledge. So understand, with the understanding, that this theoretical understanding is not going to take us to the truth. That much we need to know. This is exactly what the Upanishad is trying to say. There are many other elements involved. Ego, of course, is a terrible thing. We will come to that later. So, abiding in the midst of ignorance, wise in their own esteem, thinking themselves to be learned, Pariyanti Mudha, the foolish, treading a torturous path, are like Andeineva Niyamanayatana, like the blind leading the blind. What lies beyond this world shines not to these people. Careless and deluded by the glamour of wealth, thinking this world exists, there is no other. They fall again and again to my power, means death. Shravanayapi bahuviryo nalabhya sranavanto api bhavayo yam navidhu ascharyo vakta kushalo asya labdhaha ascharyo jnata kushalanusishta. He who cannot even be heard by many, whom many even hearing do not understand. Wondrous is he who can teach this to somebody, and skillful indeed. And wondrous is he who knows, even when instructed by the wise. which means there are no dearth of teachers and there are no dearth of students. But it is such a subtle matter that it is not easy to understand without being taught. And even if taught by a skillful teacher, the student's mind, if it is not open, he still cannot grasp what is being said. Why? Because we are looking for the pleasant all the time. This is the subtle truth which Yama is teaching Nachiketas. And then, not by reasoning is this apprehension attainable, but when it is taught by somebody who has actually realized it, now you have got it from me. So hold it fast, hold fast to the truth. Yama says, may we find more inquirers like Nachiketas. He is so pleased with Nachiketas. I am not looking at all the slokas, then it will take several days, so I am just picking up here and there. Okay, then Yama says to Nachiketas, having chosen the good over the pleasant and moving towards the truth, you would realize through self-contemplation that primal God, the Supreme Reality, difficult to be seen, deeply hidden, set in the cave of the Hridaya, dwelling in the deep. Seeing this, the wise leave behind both joy and sorrow. After saying all this, Yama says to Nachiketas, what you are seeking is not far away. It's not in the books. It's not in anything else. It is there inside you, in the cave of your Hridaya. Your true self is that what you are seeking. And when you have found it, you are free of death. What does he say? Tam durdasham gudham anupravishtam guhahitam gafyarashtam puranam adhyatma yogadhigamena devam matva dhiro harsha shakho jahati. Realizing through self-contemplation that primal supreme reality residing deeply in your heart meaning not the organ that pumps blood, the core of your being, dwelling in the deep, the wise, having seen that, leaves behind both joys and sorrows of this world. Not that he runs away, but he is free of it. Hearing this and comprehending it, the mortal, having attained to the essence, rejoices. Nachiketas, that gate is open to you now. Then Nachiketas asks a question, a relevant question at this point. He says, Anyatra dharmat, anyatra asmat, krita kritat, anyatra bhutat, cha bhavyat, chayat tat pashyasi tadvada. Which means, Nachiketas says, okay, you have said this much. Now you tell me, which is it that is beyond right and wrong, beyond what is done and not done, beyond the past and beyond the future? Is there some element in me like that, which is neither right nor wrong, which is neither dark nor light, which is neither evil or good, which is beyond both the opposites, and which is full of bliss? Is there something in me like that? The essence you are talking about as residing in the cave of the heart. What is this? Can you tell me what it is? Yama now comes to a practical looking at it. He says, Sarva Veda Yat Padam Amananti Tapamshi Sarvani Cha Yat Vadanti Yat icchanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam samgrahena bhavimi om iti etat. It's a wonderful lesson. The key. Yama says that word which all the Vedas declare, which all the austerities, tapasya proclaims, desiring which people live the life of a religious student. That word I am going to tell you. In brief, it is Om. First he said, Yama said, since you are looking for immortality, looking for the immortal element in yourself, deathless and joyful beyond the ordinary joys and sorrows of this world, and since it is the essence of your being residing in the depths of your heart, let me tell you that there is something that represents that in this world, and that is the sound called Om. It is that which the Vedas speak about. It is that which people live as brahmacharis to find out. It is that supreme reality that everyone seeks, and that Om iti etat, that is this Om. So, we need to look at this Om now. We have got a new thing in our hands, not new, old thing. We always say, Om Sahana Vavatu, Om no, Om, but what is this Om that Yama describes to Nachiketas? Yama also says, Etadhi evaksharam brahma, etadhi evaksharam param, etadhi evaksharam nyatva, yoyad icchati tasya tat. This syllable is verily that everlasting spirit, the symbol of the everlasting spirit. This syllable is the highest end. Knowing this very syllable, whatever anyone desires, that he will become. Now don't get ideas. I want to make a film, so I am going to chant Om so that I can become a Brit producer. Possibly even that. But what Yama is trying to say, this Om is the representative sound of the inner reality, which even words cannot describe. Yad vachana abhyutitam Upanishad. But it is the essence of being and the link between the ordinary world and the inner essence which sits in you as the Antaryami. And that is the Pranava, which is Om. Now, is it merely the meaning of Om, or is it the sound of Om? Both. The Upanishads have gone on to describe Om in different ways. We all know the common explanation for Om, don't we? A, U, Ma. We all know that. A means Brahma, U means Vishnu, Ma means Maheshwara. That means creation, preservation and destruction represented by Om. Most of us know that. However, there is a beautiful Upanishad which is the shortest Upanishad in the principal Upanishads, which has only 12 verses. One day I will do it for you separately. Actually, I was thinking about that, but I thought to start with Katha Upanishad. This is the 12-verse little Upanishad called a Mandukya. Mandukya Upanishad. It's so important in the literature of Upanishads that Gaudapada, the Parama Guru of Adi Shankara, wrote a Karika, commentary on that, which runs into several pages. And Shankara wrote a commentary on the Karika of Gaudapada, which runs into several pages. So we won't have time to read all that. So let me sum up. I had to do it because Babaji sat on my head. You don't have time to do that. So let me explain in a nutshell. The Mandukya explains Om in a slightly different way than we know of. It says, sound Om, the first letter A represents a common state known to all mankind. What is that? The waking state. Jagrata avastha. And it's also the simplest sound, A. Even a dumb person can say A. It's the basic. Now, it is a symbol of the waking state of consciousness, which we all know. I hope we are all in Jagrata avastha, I hope. And then the U. Now, please understand this. The waking state is common to all. Men, women, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, everybody is awake at some point. Common to all. Humanity. And then U. U represents the middle sound, the Swapna avastha. The Swapna avastha is also called Tejasa, because Swapna means dream. That is also common to all of us. We all have dreams, right? I don't know. I hope. We all have night dreams and daydreams. Some have more daydreams than night dreams, but we all dream. Swapnavastha. It's called Tejasa because in the dream our eyes are shut. There is no artificial light. And yet the dreams are in full light. So self-illumined. So therefore it's called Tejasa. And that is also common to all of us. Not only common to all of us, dreams are so real that while you are dreaming, nobody knows that you are dreaming. So real. Dream dream in the dream you run, and it is so real that when you wake up you are still sweating, your heart is beating and you are looking, this is a dream. But not while you are dreaming, when you wake up. So sometimes I wonder, when you are dreaming, if you tell, you don't think it's a dream, right? Suppose I say now you are dreaming. You won't believe it because you are in the dream. Who knows, maybe one day we'll wake up and say, what a long dream. Who knows? Nobody is going to believe it now. Anyway, that is a different matter. So, waking state, Jagrati, is A. Jagrata. Dream state, U. Swapnavastha. Common to all. Then the last syllable, Ma, Om. Once you say Om, you need to utter another word, you have to open your mouth. It's all finished. So what is that finishing? Deep sleep. Shushupti, according to the Upanishad. Shushupti. Now in Shushupti, you have no dreams, you are completely asleep. Deep sleep. And why do we feel so rejuvenated after deep sleep? Because in deep sleep, there is no outer cognition, there is no inner cognition, there is no cognition of the border between the two. In fact, you don't even know who you are. You should see a production unit in a film, director, producer, cinematographer, actors, the laborers who catch the thing and put it up, the generator up, everybody sleeps, and when they are sleeping, they are equal. Does a king sleep differently from you? No. If a king can sleep at all, it's common fact, because there you are reduced to your commonality. All other impressions have vanished. Therefore, you are relaxed and rejuvenated. Because the moment I realize who I am, what I am sleeping, then I have all my problems. I went to this wedding the other day, nobody recognized me. Whole night I'm worrying. Not me. I don't care. It's good that people don't recognize. I'm running away from recognition. That's a difference. So, in deep sleep, there's nothing. Bare ground. And then you wake. So, the Mandukya Upanishad says that Om represents the waking state, the dream state, and the Ma represents the deep sleep. Now, when you said Om, Om, there is the Ardha Matra on top. That's the vibration of the Ma after it ends. Like the sound of the bell after it is rung. It takes a long time. That half sound represents what the Upanishad calls the Turiya, which means the witness of all the three states, but not involved in any of these three states. There is a beautiful story of the great sage Yajnavalkya and his disciple Janaka of Videha, was supposed to be the father of Sita. Now, Yajnavalkya was his guru, his teacher. So one day, when the great king Janaka was sleeping, he had a dream in which he dreamt that he was a beggar. It was a fairly long dream. He was a beggar with torn clothes, begging for food, hungry. And then he woke up and found that he was lying in the bed in the palace with all the luxuries that are required. So it occurred to him, actually, am I a beggar or am I a king? Because suppose this dream had stretched for a longer time, I would have been a beggar for a long time. Now I have woken up, I think I am the king. Actually, am I a beggar or am I? Because when I was a beggar in the dream, I experienced all the pain and misery. Now I think I am a king. I think I have woken up. I think. Actually, there is another waking up. When you really wake up, and everything becomes silly. Anyway, so I wake up and here I am the king. So the great sage Yajnavalkya, who is his guru, comes there and he asks him, sir, please explain to me this. Just now I thought I was a beggar. And now I think I am a king, which is correct. Yajnavalkya explains to him, saying, look, my dear king, both are right. You are a beggar, you are also a king. Depends on your state of mind. But please remember that when you thought you were a beggar, there was a witness there, right? There was a sakshi there, which was saying, I am a beggar. And when you wake up now and say you're the king, there is a sakshi inside, a witness which says, I am the king. Now in deep sleep, Sushupti, you don't feel there is any witness because you don't know where you are. However, when you wake up after a beautiful deep sleep, we always say, it was so blissful. So there must have been a witness. You're not aware of that witness at that point, but there must have been a witness who experienced. Otherwise, why would you say, oh, that was so blissful? In fact, it is so blissful that you don't want to wake up. That's what happens in the morning, especially young people. And they go to sleep, it's so blissful. They don't have any other bliss on earth like that. So to wake up is a little difficult. You say, Swami, I 5 minutes. Then 5 minutes becomes 1 hour. Because it's so enjoyable. So there is a witness that is enjoying it. Right? So Yajnavalkya explains to Janaka, now there is a witness in waking state. There is a witness in dream state. There is a witness also in sleep, although you don't realize it at that point. Now he says, please note that there is no change in the witness. The witness always remains a witness, but the states keep changing. That unchanging witness is your true identity, not the one in the dream or in the waking state. So Yajnavalkya doesn't say it, I'm telling you. Can you imagine that in that blissful deep sleep you are aware suddenly? You can't be normally. If that was one way to get to Turiya, then everybody will go to sleep and attain moksha. It's not possible. I'm saying just imagine a state where in that blissful deep sleep there is also the awareness. There is a witness. That is called Turiya, which is represented by the Ardhamatra. Om. This is the meaning of Om as given in the Mandukya Upanishad. Now, that is the meaning which is very deep. It makes us think and go deep into understanding Om. Apart from that, Om as a sound, as a chanting sound, if you just continue to chant Om, doing nothing, no other sadhana, Pranava sadhana. Even the Dashanami Sampradaya, which does not believe in any other yoga and so on, Pranava sadhana everybody agrees on, which is the chanting of the Om. And in our parampara, in the Kriya parampara, we have a technique called the Om technique. It is also called the Brahmari. Now I'm talking about the practical aspect of Om. First, understand that if your attention is fixed on the sound of Om, please don't say that Om is in Sanskrit, so what about the rest of the people? Don't even think of it as a denominational language. Think of it as a sound. Shabda. Pure Shabda. This is like saying you're talking Sanskrit, so you must be a Hindu. In those days, the ancient texts were written in that language because all research was done in that language. That doesn't mean the other way around. Anyway, so Om is a pure sound. So when the Om technique is done in Kriya, I'm not going to initiate you into Kriya. I don't think everybody needs Kriya. It's not true. There are people who have attained moksha without Kriya, so that's not a big deal. Anyway, it's my parampara. We do what is called the Brahmari. Brahmari is what is called a bumblebee. It comes near the window and makes the bumblebee. So that sound is the last syllable of Om. Om. Last syllable. So what we do is shut our eyes, close our ears, and make the sound. Start with Om, but give more stress on the ma. Om. This is called the Om. It's also called the Brahmari. Now, if you ask me what does it do, please sit down and do. Not now. You have the whole hall humming. No. Go home, sit down in the morning, and a few minutes, just do the Brahmari. Shut your ears and make the sound of the last part of Om. The last sound of Om, which is Ma, affects all the psychic centers in our system. One. We will come to this Upanishad talking about these centers. And it's also a soothing sound which heals. You go to a place where patients are convalescing. What is the most common sound you hear? Because it built in, that sound soothes and heals the body and mind. So, if you are really agitated and if you can't say Om, put on a record which says Om. Yama says to Nachiketas, that sound Om is a representation in sound form of the supreme reality resident in your own core of your consciousness as the Antaryami. That is your true identity. Understand that you are not Nachiketas. That is the true you. You know that, then you become limitless and no more can death touch you, because that is immortal. Etadhi evaksharam brahma, etadhi evaksharam param, etadhi evaksharam jnatva, yoyad icchati tasya tat. We finish that. Okay, the next. Etad alambanam sreshtam, etad alambanam param, etad alambanam jnatva, brahmaloke mahiyate. This support of Om is the best of all. This support is the highest. Knowing this support, one becomes great in the world of the Brahman. Then he says, now this self, which is represented by Om, which is your true self, which is your true identity, which is inside the secret cave of your heart, Hridaya, that even though it is attributeless, he is describing a few attributes to make us understand what it is. And what is that? That knowing self, the witness of all the three states, is never born, nor does it die at any time. The fear is, I am born, so I am going to die. In true essence, one is neither born, nor does one die. Body does, of course. So he says, that knowing self is never born, nor does he die at any time. It sprang from nothing, but nothing sprang from it. It is unborn, eternal, abiding and primeval. It is not slain when the body is slain. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The body can be slain, but the self cannot be slain. And you think it is being born. It's never born. It's unborn. And you think it is dying. It's never dying. There are similar verses in the Gita. So understand this, O Nachiketas, that you are not Nachiketas, son of Vajashravasa. You are that immortal self that is unborn and therefore cannot die. And its quality is Sat-Chit-Ananda. Coming later. I am just telling you because we have only 10 minutes more. So, the Upanishads have always described this inner self, and the good news is you all have the inner self, not only me. So, they have described that inner self, and you don't need a special agent to teach you that. You know it, that's it. So, here Om has been described as the most important sound. Yama says to Nachiketas, that is your essence, your true essence, the true reality. Understand that, and you are free of the fear of death because truly you never die and you are never born. Okay. But why does the Upanishad, in many places, not here at the moment, coming, call this eternal self Sat-Chit-Ananda? Sat-Chit-Ananda is derived from three syllables again: Sat, Chit and Ananda. Now, Sat means that which is, is, as opposed to what is not but looks like it is. Let me explain. Sat is that which is always there, as opposed to that which is here today and gone tomorrow. M is sitting here today. After some time, there is no M, gone. So many teachers have sat in so many platforms, they are not there now, physically at least. Right? So, but if it is a reality, Sat, it has to be there always. That which is not, is here today and gone tomorrow cannot be Sat. So that inner reality of us, which everybody has, is Sat. Even if the body dies, goes, it has not gone anywhere, it's the reality, Sat. And what is its essence? Chit, which means it's not inanimate, it is consciousness. It's conscious, Chit. So that essence in you and I, also in you, not only in me, കണ്ണാടി വെച്ച് ഇങ്ങനെ സൂക്ഷിച്ച് തന്നെ നോക്കുന്നത്. ആ സത്ത് ഇവിടെ മാത്രമല്ല, അവിടെയുണ്ട്. For Sat, Chit is consciousness, which is also part of our true reality. And Ananda, because the only way we can experience it is blissfulness. In fact, it is that Sat-Chit-Ananda that we search always in all the things that we search for in the world in the form of happiness. Unfortunately, you don't find it outside. That is the problem. There is an innate understanding of the mind that ultimately you have to reach ultimate happiness. So this is the search. This is the whole of life, looking for happiness. Not knowing that happiness is actually part of our true inner reality and cannot be found anywhere outside. Ask anybody, have you found unalloyed happiness anywhere? You may have wealth, you may not have children. You may have this, you may not have that. And so you're working for that. It goes on, it's a vicious cycle, it never stops. However, if you turn around and look, that which you seek is inside you, your true essence. The whole search is for that. Like Kabir Das said, it is like the Kasturi Mriga. In the Himalayas, there is this musk deer, Kasturi Mriga. In this particular season, there's a little pouch under its tail, under its belly, where Kasturi is created. I mean, Kasturi is secreted. Musk. So there's a beautiful fragrance in the air. So the poor deer, not knowing the source from which this fragrance is coming under its belly, goes looking for it everywhere in the forest, putting its snout into thorny bushes, bleeding, but still not knowing that the source is under my belly. Kabir said, this is the situation of us human beings. We are looking for that eternal happiness everywhere. But it's right inside your heart. Your true essence is Sat-Chit-Ananda. Now this same Sat-Chit-Ananda is described by Vedavyasa in the Brahma Sutras. I'm not going to start the Brahma Sutras. As Asti Bhari Priya. Instead of Sat-Chit-Ananda, in the Brahma Sutras, the word used for that eternal reality about which Yama is teaching Nachiketas and which is represented by Om is described as Asti Bhadi Priya. Asti means that which is, existence. That which is as opposed to that which is not but looks like it is. All this. Asti, the reality. A Western philosopher once said there are two eternal things. One is, is, and is never becoming. The other is not but is ever becoming. We are in that becoming thing. When the becoming stops, then there is only is. Right? So Asti is that isness. Is. Existence. In purity. Not existing as this or existing as that, but as existence. Bhati. It is also conscious. It's not a padartha, it's not unconscious or inanimate. It's animate, it's alive, it's conscious. It's also effulgent. Bhati. Then Priya. It's also that because of which we love each other. Rarely nowadays, but mostly hate. So, Priya means you always have in the Priya Patta and so on. Priya is the word that represents affection, love, dearness and so on. That is because of the existence of the inner self that you feel that dearness. In fact, that dearness or Priya is so strong that even in ordinary world, When two young people are in love with each other, they're even ready to run away somewhere or jump into the well because the only thing is the priya. Nothing else matters. I'm not saying you should do that. Foolish thing to do, pretty. But that is the element. And if one tries to describe what it is, the Upanishad says it can't be described. It can only be anubhava. Anyone who has tried to describe it has failed utterly with words. So it's going to be 8 o'clock. 1 hour is our time. I'm going to wind up after a small story. Story. In the early days, when Adi Shankaracharya was walking in the south, near Karnataka somewhere, a family came to him with folded hands and said, "We have a boy in our house who is already 6 years old. Since the time he is born till now he has not uttered a word. 8 years old, he has not uttered a word. We don't know what's wrong with him. Maybe he's dumb. We don't know. You are a great yogi or a great saint. Maybe if you come and bless him, he might start talking." So they took Shankara, Adi Shankaracharya, to see this boy. So this boy was sitting in the corner of the house like this. Shankara went and asked him, "Why don't you talk?" The first time the boy opened his mouth and said, "About what?" Of course, the parents were mighty pleased. He said, "About what?" Then he said, "The truth cannot be uttered by words. So whatever words I say is untruth, so I prefer to be silent." And Shankara named him Hastamalaka. It means Hasta is the palm and Amalka fruit is Nellika. Amalka. He said this guy was holding the truth like a gooseberry in his hand, like a Nellika in his palm. So he called him Hastamalaka. I think he was the one who later on became the first Shankara of Sringeri after him, after Shankara. So, even though I have talked for 1 hour, it's better to keep quiet. We can go on talking. Even all, but that's a different matter. Physically, you can stop talking, but the mind chatters continuously. From birth till death, it keeps chattering. So when people say, "I'm in Mauna," I wonder, what Mauna, this or this? When the mind really becomes silent, when there are no chattering of thoughts, can you imagine how wonderful it will be? Just imagine even. But then, after years of living, we have loved to love the chattering. So if it keeps quiet for 1 second, we become very uncomfortable. Thoughts because we got so accustomed. One day, we were having a satsang in Madhya Pradesh, somewhere. And I was talking about not wanting to come back, to be free of life and death and rebirth and so on. One old lady who was about 80 years told me, "But why are you saying I want to come back?" I said, "But why?" She said, "दाल रोटी बड़ी अच्छी लगती है, क्यों वापस नहीं आए?" What can you do? So now it's time for dal roti. So thank you very much. Namaskaram. Tomorrow I will try to complete the Katha Upanishad somehow. We'll miss a few slokas and do it. Okay? Thank you very much. Innata Gadha Gadiya.